government completes 1 year in office, I welcome you to the Editors Roundtable to discuss the highs and lows of his government. I have with me a very distinguished panel. We have Mr. M.K. Venu, who is Executive Editor Amar Ujala and also an economic writer. There's Veer Samvi, former editor Hindustan Times, a political commentator and a columnist. We have Mr. Nalapath, MD Nalapath, who is editorial director Sunday Guardian, and Sanjay Baru, former editor Business Standard. He's also director Geoeconomics and Strategy at the International Institute of Strategic Studies. Have I got that right? I'll begin with you. You know, it's been called two things. We have Rahul Gandhi calling this a soot boot ki sarkar, while Arun Jaitley recently said it's a sooj booj ki sarkar. So what would you say?
Well, one of the biggest challenges Modi has faced in his first year is his whole image among, say, among the farmers and even among the poor. Now, perception matters as much in politics as what is really happening on the ground, and it's a fact that today farmers in North India and West India, the crisis they have been going through, and the response of the government, they are not very happy about it. So Rahul Gandhi, I guess, chose the opportunity to just level that allegation. And recently, I believe Arun Jaitley told some journalists in Parliament that when you are in the opposition, you have this particular privilege and advantage to level allegations, and the ruling party has to take it on the chin, and that's what Modi used to do earlier when he was in the opposition, make fun of the ruling party, and I think they are getting it back, and they have enough material on their hands given the big farm crisis that we are witnessing.
So it's a crisis Modi let fester.
In the sense he promised, he went all over UP and Bihar. I was there. He said farmers will get 50% margin, profit margin over and above their costs. It is part of the BJP manifesto. There was a big price stabilization fund created for farmers, a token amount which Jaitley initiated in his first budget, about 300-400 crores. Nothing happened. They didn't operationalize.
Okay, let me bring Veer into this crisis of perception also. You know, is Modi getting as good as he gave, or is he getting a bit more than he deserves?
No, I think Modi has a problem, Priya, because if you look at his record in Gujarat, it's based essentially on doing big projects, doing industrial projects, creating an investor-friendly environment, drawing industry to Gujarat, Ratan Tata being one notable example, and therefore delivering on a certain kind of prosperity. Now that's easy when you're an opposition and the government is floundering, as UPA 2 was, to point to this and say, here's a man who delivers growth, here's a decisive leader, projects go through, they're not stalled like they were under UPA 2. But the flip side of that is it's quite easy then for opponents to caricature you as a candidate of big business, as the man who's only interested in attracting investors, in attracting the Ratan Tatas or the Adanis or whatever. And that's always been the area of weakness. And that's the area of weakness that Rahul Gandhi is now exploiting. You can argue about whether Rahul is serious or whether, as Arun Jaitley, Venu quoted him as saying, it's the job of the opposition to find areas of weakness and to level them. But Modi has always been open to criticism on those grounds.
No, one of the criticism that Arun Shourie has recently levelled at this government has been the fact this land amendments bill was totally unnecessary. Did Modi hand the whole issue to Rahul Gandhi on a platter?
Well, the fact is that the land bill that was passed by the UPA has made it almost impossible to take land for any kind of purpose whatsoever. I mean, that is a reality. And after the land bill was passed by the UPA, not 1 acre of land has been taken over by any government whatsoever. So that land bill, quite frankly, needed to be changed.
But should it have been done via an ordinance, via the way?
Look, the next important date for Narendra Modi is 2019, the Lok Sabha polls of 2019. And the mood is going to start settling in by around the second half of 2018. And by 2019 or so, it's going to be the decisive factor. So in my view, if you have a super tanker, it takes a while to change course. A lot of matters in India need complete change of course, but it's not going to happen in a hurry. I've been saying publicly that this is only 20% Modi. The next year we'll get 40%. The year after that 60. The year after that 80.
But Mr. Baru, 20% Modi, he's already lost his sheen very early in the game. Even when Mohan Singh had a longer innings of goodwill, shouldn't Modi give his 100% now?
You see, Manmohan Singh had the advantage that he came to power on very low expectations. So therefore, whatever he did only increased his popularity or his image.
Yes.
Because nobody thought of Manmohan Singh as a prime minister, as prime ministerial material. And our entire attempt, I can tell you, in that first year was to establish the fact that here was a man who was worthy of his job. Modi's problem is exactly the opposite. He came to power on very high expectations. That he would almost change the course of the destiny of this country, that with a magic wand he would kind of reverse the decline of the UPA too. So I think for Manmohan Singh, every little positive step had a multiplier effect in terms of his image. For Modi, the fact that he was expected to do much, much more, and that he's actually taken baby steps, if you like, 20% and not 100%. Because he sees a long-term game. I mean, in my own judgment, he deliberately chose foreign policy in the first year as his focus. And I think in the process, he may have neglected, issues in farm sector, and I think that was the price he's paying. But I think he chose foreign policy in order to build his international image, thinking that his national image was not something you should worry about. While for Manmohan Singh in the first year, the entire focus was his national image.
Because he already had an international image.
Exactly.
Veer, you wrote in a column, I remember saying this exactly, this managing expectations, and you cited the example of Indira Gandhi and Rajiv Gandhi. So coming, the burden of expectations is too much. Shouldn't Modi have learned from history and managed it better?
Yeah, I think Modi's got it wrong. I think he imagined that the euphoria that accompanied his victory would continue. And as Sanjay says, he thought because people loved him and there was no problem and there was no opposition, he could go ahead and establish himself as an international statesman, perhaps making up for the fact that many countries, including the US, had not been keen on him and had even denied him visas. In retrospect, this has proved to be a strategic miscalculation because he may or may not have established himself as an international spokesman. But the euphoria is only half the story. The other half of the story, Sanjay very correctly says, is expectations. And whenever prime ministers are elected with decisive mandates, Mrs. Gandhi in 1971, Rajiv Gandhi in 1984, the bigger the mandate, the bigger the expectations. And the larger the expectations, the more difficult it is to deliver.
To manage them. Venu, going on by the expectations, I mean, I noticed you had also written something about Modi's body language. That is, body language at the end of 1 year is not what it was at the beginning of the year.
It's not, yeah, because I'll tell you why. Here I'd just like to recall what Arun Shourie said in his now much talked about interview to Karan Thapar, where he said the expectation was set so high that even the 4-5 good things that the government has done, people are not looking at that, people are looking at the gap between expectation and delivery. And that is showing in Modi's body language also. When you see the leader's body language kind of not showing confidence, that's when you talk about your pro-poor policies in these negative terms. I'm not doing this for Mukesh Ambani. I'm not acquiring land for Mukesh Ambani.
Defensive ho gaya.
I'm not making policies for Mukesh Ambani. And to name an industrialist, when have you last heard a prime minister actually sell his policy in these very, very sort of negative terms? He should be able to sell his poor policies on their merit, right?
That's a good point.
Why I'm not doing this for Ratan Tata, I'm not doing this for Adani. So that it shows that he's defensive. And the reason why also, Priya, this is happening is, he, as Sanjay says, he went around to Japan, got $50 billion, whatever, commitment. Xi Jinping came here, $20-25 billion commitment. He's gone around, got commitment on smart cities. The problem is, on the ground, I'm not seeing a single $1 billion investment having got cleared at the center and state level.
Yeah, it's,
$1 billion investment getting in a year, just one or two, which you could demonstrate that, okay, this is cleared and this is work has begun on this. You're talking about smart cities. Now, we've seen smart cities. Have you ever heard about abroad people talking about smart cities? I guess they just go and build it. There's a lot of headline.
Where have I heard that line before?
Whatever.
Okay. Mr. Lalpad, what he's saying, is Modi the victim of his own headline hunting and his big statements? And secondly, is this government making a big problem in not communicating properly?
Well, I'm not sure that Narendra Modi wrote any of the headlines that came in newspapers about him.
But he,
and certainly a lot of the headlines that appeared about Narendra Modi would not be headlines that Mr. Modi would have written.
but Mr. Modi says those things in order, he knows how to get a good headline.
No,
Give him that.
I'd simply like to say that, we talk in terms of perception, that's one thing. But again, I'd like to say, if you talk in terms of a long view of 5 years, I think his target is basically 5 years, 2019. And if you talk in terms of that, then there is also a clear strategy. Now, the problem that he has faced is, he came into Delhi. It's a hostile takeover, in the sense that Delhi establishment was definitely not pro-Modi.
But such a warm welcome he got, I mean...
Well, everybody gives a warm welcome to whoever has a job in Delhi. I mean, whoever is the Prime Minister, I can tell you, will be assured of a warm welcome.
Was Manmohan Singh given that same warm welcome as Modi?
I believe he was.
No, I mean, look, the fact is that Modi got elected in a very dramatic manner. So, naturally, when he came, Delhi did give him a warm welcome. It was a historic election. I think for 30 years, we didn't have a single party majority government, and here was a person who delivered it to his own party. So, I don't think that you can compare 2004 to 2015.
No, but I simply want to say that in my view, the kind of team also that Prime Minister Modi has got is, in my view, that team is going to go through several changes over about a 2-year period. So at the end of let's say a year more, I would expect to see a significantly different team than the team he now has, in the sense that those who could perform will be retained, those who cannot perform will be removed, because quite frankly, as I had mentioned in my writing, this is a team which is 40% Manmohan Singh, 40% Vajpayee, and only 20% Modi. We need a team that's at least 60% Modi.
If incompetent ministers have to be removed, then I'm sorry, some 60% will have to go. Because one heard the name of the agriculture minister and saw his face on TV only about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, same for civil aviation. A lot of the ministers are unknown commodities.
Yeah,
but that should be an advantage, that these people are not coming with a baggage. Or is inexperience proving to be too much of a disadvantage?
I think the inexperience is proving to be a disadvantage. I mean, I think the talent level of this government, particularly compared to the UPA, which actually had good talent. At the end of the day, you had Chidambaram, Kamal Nath, Anand Sharma, a lot of people with experience.
Natural party of governance.
Well, they've been in office for longer. And I think...
So should Modi take Advani, Murli Manohar Joshi and others?
No, Advani
because they are the only ones with experience.
Look, he's 80 plus or probably 90. But I guess there are, I'm not talking of bringing the older people in, but bringing in lateral entrants. I mean, there's a lot of talent in the country. After all, how did Manmohan Singh become a finance minister? He was not a politician.
I agree with Sanjay. The fact of the matter is that when I talk in terms of 20% Modi only, the reality is we have made a mess in this country over 70 years. And the Delhi establishment has made a particular mess of this country because of the fact that it's got such tight control over the rest of the country. You need to free the rest of the country from a lot of the controls that are there from Delhi. And for that you need to have what Prime Minister Modi said in the election campaign, minimum government. So quite frankly, you need new people. And you need to tap into civil society and not just the civil service.
Okay.
So these are measures which in the first year certainly Prime Minister Modi has not taken. I am expecting that he will start doing that in the second year.
The other thing is, we saw the Delhi elections. A lot of people are saying the middle class has, abandoned Modi. And one of the reasons is, when these people from the Sangh Parivar or various ministers make these statements, provocative statements, Modi hasn't shut them up publicly. He waits a while. Don't you think he should act more, or is he doing the right thing?
Well, I don't think he can act publicly. I mean,
the baggage of his past.
Yeah. I mean, let's take something Monu said. This notion of victimhood. Modi's core constituency is people who felt disenfranchised by what they call the secular establishment or what they call Lachan's Delhi or whatever.
Right.
These are the people who fought Advani, fought Joshi and made Modi leader of the BJP and Prime Minister candidate. After that, Modi went on to appeal to a wider constituency. That's the middle class. People wanted growth. People wanted development. These abusive remarks about minorities are coming from his core constituency. He can't really attack them in public without having being seen to turn his back on the people who made him what he is. He can only do it quietly. And the moment he does that, you get back onto this whole idiotic notion of victimhood. He's become a prisoner of the secular establishment, and everything that goes wrong is blamed on Vajpayee's people or Manmohan Singh's people, and the one or two things that go right is done by Modi.
I can see you smiling. I'll just come
No, I
down.
want to tell you
Why he's
something.
smiling?
A very senior BJP leader told me recently that one reason why some of these elements, Sangh Parivar elements, make these statements, provocative statements on minorities, is because lack of performance, economic performance on the ground. Because they say that you have to give them something, the voters. And here I would again like to recall what very interesting observation made by political scientist Suhas Palshikar in an article in Express. He said that BJP has in its victory, it got two constituencies. One was its core constituency, the middle class, urban middle class, which believes in BJP's cultural agenda. And the other is the hugely aspirational young subalterns, non-upper caste, the backwards of North India. Those are the people who, in my view, are getting impatient or getting weaned away, which you will possibly see the result of that in Bihar. I think they'll have to be very careful about that.
Well, it's time for a quick break, but don't go away because we're going to come back and we're going to be talking about the highs and lows of Modi government. I'm going to ask everyone to name one thing that is right with the government and one thing that is wrong. Welcome back to our special show, the Editors Roundtable on 1 year of Modi government. How crucial is Bihar, yes?
Well, we'll come to Bihar, but even on the middle class issue, which I think is important because I think Delhi election was an important message. You look at the 3 or 4 things that middle class families who certainly voted for Modi. I mean, I think the whole history of the last 3 elections, 2009, Congress won because the entire middle class, which earlier voted for Vajpayee, voted for Manmohan Singh. Well, that's the argument I have for 2009 victory of the Congress. That same middle class abandoned the Congress and went back to the BJP in huge numbers in 2015. But what are the issues that middle class worries about? They think about tax, they think about healthcare, they think about education. Now, in all these 3 areas, the first year of Mr. Modi's government has been a disaster. You created, the party came to power saying we'll end tax terrorism. You created more anxieties about tax policy. Healthcare, there was a good man called, the former Delhi
Harshvardhan. Dr. Harshvardhan, yes.
First-rate man.
He's been sidelined.
I can tell you the medical community was very unhappy with that. Then education, frankly, Smriti Irani is a disaster. I know the entire educational establishment of this country, university vice chancellors, professors, IIT faculty, they think this is the worst education minister we've had in a long, long time. So, in these areas which middle class worries about, education, health, taxation, you're getting message that Modi does not focus because he's given these ministries to people who don't seem to click.
We need, frankly, the middle class is expecting better results. I agree with Sanjay. So far as tax is concerned, we have higher taxes, even though we all know lower taxes create higher revenue. We have, this 66A, Prime Minister Modi got the full support from the internet. And what has happened? His minister has gone and defended 66A. The law minister and the IT minister went and said, this is fine. They should have scrapped the entire act. They wanted to retain 66A. So in that sense, what's happening is several of the Modi ministers are not speaking Prime Minister Modi's language. He's not just been silent about the Hindutva forces. What is more worrying is his silence about those individuals in his team who are not reflecting the policy that he himself believes in.
That's, we're coming back to a lot of people as, in our discussion, the team that Modi has picked. A man is known by the team he chooses. Should he have picked a better team?
I'm never convinced by this team argument. I agree with Sanjay, for instance, that there were some wonderful and very talented ministers in the Manmohan Singh government, but there were also a lot of dead losses. I mean, Antony, who had one of the most senior posts, destroyed the defense ministry. The whole General V.K. Singh thing should never have been allowed to happen. Sushil Kumar Shinde was possibly one of the worst home ministers we've seen in a long time. So there were a lot of duds when it came to the Manmohan Singh cabinet also. Yet it's not the duds who got the blame. It was Manmohan Singh who got the blame. Pretty much the same is here. I don't know how you will characterize Arun Jaitley. Is he a Vajpayee person? Is he a Modi person? But it's clear a lot of the attack is on him, perhaps because he is the most intelligent, most articulate member of this team. But let's take Smriti Irani, who they've just gone for. Is she a Vajpayee person? She's a complete Modi person. It's both. So this whole view that everybody we like is a Modi person, everybody who hasn't performed is a Vajpayee person, seems to be slightly specious.
You know, yeah, another small point here. It's not just the ministers. Most of the implementation part is done by the bureaucracy. So Narendra Modi has followed a policy on the bureaucracy where there is a bit of over centralization. A lot of files go to the PMO. There are reports that files are getting stuck there. And he's depending on a few secretaries to deliver. Make in India, for instance, Amitabh Kant, he's trying his best to get states on board. But I can tell you, I've got this feedback from senior bureaucrats at the center that the states are not easily coming on board. That is not happening because Amit Shah, for the last 6 months, now he's piped down a bit, has been going around threatening chief ministers of other parties. I'll uproot Mamata Banerjee, you know, threats hanging on BJD, Naveen Patnaik.
Political strongman.
Yeah, so they're trying to, in fact, Swapan Dasgupta recently wrote an interesting piece saying some months ago, saying that there's a bit of a disconnect between Jaitley trying to get economic policies in place by getting the chief ministers on board. On the other hand, Amit Shah's aggressive forays in East India, trying to say that BJP is going to sweep East India now, getting their goats up.
One quick thing. I agree completely with Molu about the stranglehold of the IAS, the fact that so many committees are run by IAS people, IPS people. But here's the problem. Well, Molu and I clearly feel this. Modi doesn't. Modi depends more on the IAS, more on secretaries, more on bureaucrats than any prime minister in history.
Okay, we're going to end now, but before that, I want a quick one-line answer from all of you. I'll begin with you, Sanjay. The one good thing that he's done and the one thing that's really an all-time low on Modi's behalf.
Well, the one good thing I think certainly is foreign policy. I think he has pursued a very vigorous and intelligent foreign policy. But I think all-time low is education.
Education.
Well, I think the one good thing is that he's given a sense of hope in the country that something good can be done. In fact, out of government itself, something good can be done, that you don't have to go in the streets, you don't need anarchy, the government can deliver. The bad news, quite frankly, is that thus far, the delivery has only been, as I said, 20%. And my worry is that public anger is going to rise to such a level that possibly next year, definitely by the beginning of the year after that, the anger may reach a level in which it far outstrips the performance. So I think I agree he needs to accelerate much faster than he has done so far.
The delivery. Venu,
You know, the good thing that I think this government has done is it has gone for genuine decentralization, fiscal decentralization. It has actually given about 1,85,000 crore of extra money in the hands of states for them to decide what schemes that they want to implement or what choose their schemes which would otherwise been appropriated by the planning commission, right? And the low, all-time low has been neglect of agriculture policy.
Veer, last word.
On the positive side, I'm in complete agreement with Monu. I think in the last days of Manmohan Singh, we had the sense that the Indian dream was dead, that nothing was moving, that the country had gone off the rails, that there was a huge, huge leadership vacuum. Like him or hate him, Modi has filled that vacuum. There is a sense now that India is working, that the dream is not dead, that there is leadership. I think that's the good side. The bad side, I think, stems from exactly that. There has also been this fast evaporating. There's also been a sense of arrogance, a sense that there is no opposition. Why 5 years? We are here for 10 years. We will do this gradually. Well, guess what, pal? You're going to have difficulty getting elected after 5 years.
And I noticed none of you mentioned the famous suit.
But that's a trivial thing. I mean, I think too much was made of this suit, and I think it's unfair on Modi.
Okay, so
Although it may have, perception-wise, it may have created...
yeah, I would think it created a lot that is wrong with the government was there in that suit. But anyway, that's all from us this week. Thank you for watching this edition of Story Unfolds. We'll see you again, same time next week.